Good morning, students. The topic for the day shall be Bronchogenic carcinoma, part 2. In this class, I shall be dealing with the following subheadings: small cell carcinoma, carcinoid, mesothelioma, metastasis, laboratory diagnosis, classification of TNM, and treatment. The classification we had seen earlier, I am revisiting this for the sake of the students. As mentioned earlier, the bronchogenic tumors are divided into the small cell type and the non-small cell type. We had until now seen the non-small cell type, namely the squamous cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, and the large cell carcinoma. There is another entity called the small cell carcinoma, in which there can be two subdivisions of or types of oat cell carcinoma and intermediate type. Carcinoid is another one, and metastatic tumors. Please remember this classification. It is of paramount importance. Small cell carcinoma. I had pertinently kept this separate. This has been asked, to my knowledge, at least a dozen times in the recent past. It forms 15% of the malignancies of the lung. It is a very aggressive tumor and it has got a short doubling time. In the sense, the mitosis will be fast and it multiplies very rapidly. Strongly associated with smoking. Squamous cell carcinoma is also associated with smoking, but small cell carcinoma is much more. Metastasis is wide, common in the liver, adrenal, bone, and brain. And there is a defect in the TP53 due to a mutation. Surprisingly, this is one tumor where the metastasis is found before the primary, in the sense that it spreads so very rapidly that even the primary is overtaken. The gross picture. Kindly see this picture over here. It is a fleshy gray white tumor with areas of hemorrhage and necrosis. And this is a bronchial tree. This is also a tumor that will occur in the main divisions of the bronchus. But here I am finding that the bronchus is patent and it is spreading along the peribronchial region in a sleeve-like pattern, which is again classical of small cell carcinoma. Later on, it can infiltrate and destroy the bronchus as well. This microscopic picture is of importance and it will help you in the differential diagnosis of small round cell tumors. As you see here, the tumor cells are all small, but still they are much larger than the lymphocyte. The cytoplasm is scanty and the nucleus is dark, hyperchromatic. There will be a spray of chromatin, which we call as stippled chromatin. Look at each cell. I find only the nucleus, hardly any cytoplasm. Hence, the nuclear cytoplasmic ratio is increased. Molding of the nucleus. Molding of the nucleus means adjacent nuclei that touch upon each other, providing a flat edge. I'll show you this picture in a later slide. Mitosis is increased and there will be areas of necrosis. Again, I repeat, small round cells, scanty cytoplasm, stippled chromatin, increase in the nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, nuclear molding, mitosis, and areas of necrosis. Electron microscopy will be showing neurosecretory granules. So this will be the microscopy of small cell carcinoma. Again, a gross picture, I am finding that the bronchial tree is left patent. It is infiltrating the parenchyma that is surrounding. In a later stage, the bronchial tree also can be destroyed. Look at the sleeve-like pattern of surrounding the bronchus. This is yet another gross picture. It is very aggressive and almost replacing a good part of the lung. Very aggressive going into the lumen. And there is a good microscopic slide. You people can draw this one. Small cells, fairly uniform, and there can be some round structures called the rosettes. The tumor is separated by means of fibrous septae, and this pink color is an area of necrosis. Please draw this diagram. Certain hormones can be produced by the tumors. One is ACTH, parathormone, ADH, antidiuretic hormone. And there is also a syndrome called the Lambert-Eaton syndrome, which has got a myasthenia gravis-like feature. These are some of the features that can be seen in a small cell carcinoma. And these are the subtypes that I had mentioned, the wart cell carcinoma and the intermediate type. It is thought to arise from the upward cells, amine precursor and uptake and decarboxylation cells from the bronchus. Upward cells. Sometimes it can be seen in combination with an adenocarcinoma or a squamous cell carcinoma. This is called a combination tumor. So these are certain features of small cell carcinoma which you must write in the examination. Paraneoplastic syndrome. This itself is a question for you in general pathology, and I would emphasize that reading this particular tabular column will help us answer the questions both in general pathology as well as in systemic pathology. So these are the tumors, these are the hormones which are being produced, and this is the syndrome that is associated with it. Please go through this tabular column. I am not going into the details as such. Please memorize this one. The extrapulmonary sites where we can find the small cell tumor will be the prostate, urinary bladder, GAT, and cervix. It is not a metastasis, but in these sites also we can find tumors which are identical to the small cell carcinoma: prostate, urinary bladder, gastrointestinal tract, and cervix. And this picture is called the Azzopardi effect. Azzopardi effect is because of the DNA, there will be a bluish deposition around the blood vessels. This particular phenomenon is called the Azzopardi effect, which is classical of small cell carcinoma. Can be asked as an MCQ, even otherwise you should mention. The next tumor is the bronchial carcinoid. Bronchial carcinoid. It is more or less a mimicry of an embryonal organ. In the sense it is organoid. Organoid means you find that there is a definite pattern. Here I am finding that the tumor cells are in nests. They can be in trabeculae, etc. And the cells are all more or less uniform, separated by fibrous septae. There will be some blood vessels here. So this is the microscopic picture of a carcinoid tumor. Very common in the gastrointestinal tract and associated with the carcinoid syndrome. And grossly I find that it is a well circumscribed tumor. Sometimes it can protrude into the bronchial tree in the form of a collar button. See, this is a collar button. Part of the button will be inside the coat and part of it will be outside. And it is something like an hourglass appearance that is over there. Similarly, part of the tumor will be within the parenchyma and part of it can be projecting into the bronchus. This is called a collar button fashion, classical of the carcinoid. And the bronchial carcinoid, it is supposed to be having a neuroendocrine differentiation because it has got some granules which are neuroendocrine in nature. It is thought to arise from the Kulchitsky cells, forms only about 1 to 5% of the lung tumors. It may be locally invasive, does not cause a metastasis, and usually a carcinoma occurs more than 40 years of age. Here it is less than 40 years. Bronchial carcinoid. So the gross on microscopy, it is again repeated nodular or a collar button like arrangement. The cells are arranged in nests and cords separated by fibrous strands. Uniform, no mitosis. And the electron microscopy will be showing neuroendocrine granules. The markers for this particular tumor will be neuron-specific kinase and calcitonin. Please remember this. Carcinoid tumor occasionally can be asked as a question. Carcinoid syndrome is also a frequently asked question. This particular slide I created on my own just to recollect the patterns of the lung tumors. Central in location, large in size, squamous cell carcinoma. Sleeve-like pattern, small cell carcinoma. Periphery of the lung associated with scar, adenocarcinoma. Collar button-like carcinoid. Encheathing the entire lung is a mesothelioma. So this I feel will be useful for you people, both for recollecting as well as answering an MCQ. This you people should become familiar. This is called the TNM classification. Any tumor, it is based on the size, that is the tumor size, T. N is the number of lymph nodes that are involved, and M is the metastasis to the adjacent or the distant organs. This is called the TNM classification. Any tumor in a particular patient is classified accordingly. This will help us in deciding whether we can do a surgery or the volume of chemotherapy and radiotherapy to be given to that particular patient. I will not be going into this. This gives the entire detail of it. For example, the size of the tumor is given here and the lymph nodes which are being involved, accordingly it is being staged. And M1 and M, these are the extensions to the adjoining organs or to a distant region. So this is an idea of the TNM classification. You need not memorize it, but know that such a classification exists. I hope you people are able to recollect this. Long fibers, and this is an electron microscopic picture. I'm sure you will be able to recollect it. These are the asbestos fibers. And look at this one. This is asbestos fiber, and it is covered by iron chemosedent pigmentation. If this alone is there, I will call it ferruginous body. If the asbestos fiber is there, it is called as asbestos. So this is associated with a tumor, namely the mesothelioma. Mesothelioma, this is a picture. I am finding a tumor that is encompassing or ensheathing the entire lung. Both the lungs are being covered. It can be focal or it can be completely covering. And microscopically, there are two types. One is a monophasic, another is biphasic. Monophasic is only spindle cells. Biphasic, it will be having spindle cells and glands. I have explained this earlier in the chapter on asbestosis. Please go and recollect. Do not omit any topic. The topic that you omit is your university question. Then what about the spread of the bronchogenic carcinoma? This also we had seen earlier. It can be a direct spread, the regions that are involved. It can be a lymphatic spread to the mediastinal lymph nodes or distant nodes, or it can be hematogenous. And please remember BLAB, B-L-A-B, brain, liver, adrenal, bone. And this is a picture of the liver we had seen earlier with metastasis. What are the methods of diagnosis of the bronchogenic tumors? One is a bone scan. A PET scan or a whole body scan is done to show the distribution of the tumors. X-ray, of course, can be done in the early stages to make a diagnosis. This is an instrument called the flexible bronchoscope. After all, the tumor can occur in the apex of the lung. When you go through the trachea and the bronchus, through this instrument, you can reach any particular site of the lung to view the picture of the tumor as well as take a biopsy. Flexible bronchoscope. And a PET scan, a positron emission tomography, which is used for localizing the tumors. A sharp demarcation can be made out. This picture is of importance. It is my field. I am finding two tumor cells, and here you find that they are adjoining. This is what I call as nuclear molding. Here also I find that the cells are adjacent to each other with molding of the nuclei. This is a picture of a small cell carcinoma. Sputum cytology, incidentally, is one of the methods of diagnosis of lung tumors. Guided biopsy. By means of a needle, a guided biopsy can be taken. And this is a picture of a squamous cell carcinoma with a keratin pearl. FNAC can be done in any lymph node that is involved, superficial. Pleural tap. The pleural fluid can show malignant cells. And in the blood, we can look for certain elements such as the calcium, because in paraneoplastic syndrome, these can be increased. Whenever there is an increase in the parathormone, serum calcium can be increased. BLAB, this is what I said: bone, liver, adrenal, brain. And this is a picture of a liver with multiple metastases. This is a very good slide. I would like you to kindly follow it. The tumors are divided. Treatment is actually, it looks a little complex, but I will simplify this. Tumors are divided into a non-small cell carcinoma and a small cell carcinoma. First, we shall see the small cell carcinoma. Small cell carcinoma, in all stages of the tumor, we can give a chemotherapy or a radiotherapy. And this is used to prolong the survival and to improve the quality of life. Chemotherapy and radiotherapy for small cell carcinoma. Obviously, surgery has got no role. And look at this non-small cell carcinoma. In the early stages, you can do a surgery which can be curative. We can do what is called as a pneumonectomy. A whole lung can be removed, or a lobectomy, part of a lung can be removed. In the later stages, you can do a chemotherapy and radiotherapy to prolong the survival and the quality of life. So small cell carcinoma, non-small cell carcinoma. It is easy for you. Kindly follow it without panic. And I hope you people will be able to recollect this picture. It is a cannonball appearance of a metastasis. F. Mercy.